disrupted.
America that I thought weird thing to happen. Hello, one and all. Welcome to this edition of Kitz Corner. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. So, after the debacle with Don Lemon, Nikki Haley running in the GOP, she was the UN ambassador during the Trump years, now running in the GOP primary to become president. Don Lemon had comments about her age, talking about past her prime. I don't even know exactly the wording he used because it was just utterly so stupid and ridiculous that it just literally made an ass of Don Lemon to the point that it was one of the reasons that got him fired. But now, since age has become an ultimate question, and a lot of people are concerned about age, and especially with Joe Biden seeking re-election, he's going to be one of the oldest people to be seeking re-election, it is something to be concerned about. And Nikki Haley brought a concern about this when she was appearing on Fox News. She mentioned about how maybe he's not going to be around in his next term. Maybe there's going to be some complications. There's already a lot of complications with Joe Biden that we can't really mention because the mainstream media has been shielding him for all this time. And The View is going to go on the defense of Joe Biden and attack Nikki Haley for bringing up age in a situation like this. So this is what Joy Behar and The View, in their uneducated, intellectual ways, uninspiring ways, is going to pounce on Nikki Haley because she bothered, oh my God, to mention about the age and competency of a presidential candidate. And it's just absolutely absurd how far The View is willing to go on this. Take a listen.
Not too long ago, GOP presidential candidate Nikki Haley was outraged about Don Lemon claiming she's over the hill. He said something like she wasn't in her prime anymore. But now it seems like she's saying President Biden is about to be under the hill. Watch.
He's running again in 2024, and I think that we can all be very clear and say with a matter of fact that if you vote for Joe Biden, you really are counting on a President Harris, because the idea that he would make it until 86 years old is not something that I think is likely.
So did she just say that Biden's not going to survive his second term?
Yeah,
in office?
And
is she saying?
At least to Nikki Haley's respect, he's giving him longer than I thought. Like, she's pushing it to second term that maybe he's going to croak. I'm just being honest. I didn't even think he was going to make it till tomorrow. Like, every day is a miracle that Joe Biden can stand up straight and walk. Honest to God. And considering the situation, considering the people that are currently still in office to this day, you know, Dianne Feinstein confined to a wheelchair after lots of medical treatments on her. The fate and the competency and the health of members of Congress and these leaders is a concerning factor. We need people that are not only mentally strong, but also physically strong. We need people that, if they're going to hold a responsibility for 330 million people or whatever the population of America is, we need people that are competent enough to do that. And Joe Biden is not one of those people. I don't trust Joe Biden's competency to finish a sentence, let alone lead 330 million people and a nation with its economy, with its infrastructure, with trade, with jobs, with everything. So Nikki Haley is at least giving him some respect and saying, well, maybe second term. I don't even know if he's going to make tomorrow. That's just my personal take.
He's going to be dead?
I think
what is she saying?
That's what she's saying.
Now
That's
she's
the implication.
Nostradamus.
Oh, apparently,
Yeah, now
yeah.
she predicts the future.
I
Wow.
just think it's terrible because what she wanted to do is really throw a dig at Kamala
Yes.
Harris, right? That's what she wanted to throw a dig at another woman of color. She wanted to throw a dig at the vice president of the United States. And in doing so, she decided somehow that...
How is that a dig at Kamala Harris? All she mentioned was the fact that if Joe Biden goes down, she becomes president. That's how it works. When you're the vice president and something happens to the vice president becomes president. How is that? How is that an insult to Kamala Harris? Like, it's literally you're giving Kamala Harris a promotion here. Where's the insult? I don't get that. How is that insulting her? That if Joe Biden is unable to serve, that she's next in line. Like, I think she even knows that personally.
It was politically expedient to say that he would be dead in 6 years. First of all, that is completely crass. It's terrible for his family and for him to say something like that. A real politician, a good politician, doesn't say things like that. They're sort of a personal attack. And I think this country suffers from terrible ageism. You know,
No, what's really terrible is that if someone is actually suffering dementia, which Joe Biden is showing vastly visible signs of dementia and a mental decline, and their health is deteriorating, you would not prop them up and give them the responsibility of leading and being the commander-in-chief of millions of people. If they are seriously ill, if they're seriously in that state, they need to step down and take care of themselves. Joe Biden's family should be helping Joe Biden with mundane tasks, not leading an entire nation to the point of collapse. It's just that's just the absurdity here. That's the real absurdity, is that they're trying to prop this guy up as much as possible because he's the last shot of holding together the establishment. And The View does not see that. The View rather have someone like Joe Biden because Trump gives them the icky bickies, the heebie-jeebies, or whatever you call it.
in other countries around the world, they revere their elders because of the wisdom that comes with the age. And there's nothing to indicate that there's anything wrong with Joe Biden up here. There's nothing to indicate
Well, she
that.
goes on to say something about how
I got a montage clip to show you that proves otherwise. And if America's anything of one thing, it's that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you go vote for the other Biden, okay, Jack? Corn Pop? I like ice cream. Yeah, he's definitely stable. Definitely stable.
competency, but then if the age is the factor in competency, how do you explain Marjorie Taylor Greene?
One of the issues that I think we've got to get to about what Nikki Haley just said is the staggering hypocrisy. Just a few weeks ago, she was clutching her pearls and fundraising off that comment that Don Lemon made.
Yeah, I know.
Saying that it was ageist, that it was sexist, that it was this or that. Okay, so rules for thee, but not for me. So it's okay for her to be ageist, but it's not okay for somebody to be ageist about her. And look, I think it's so tacky. And let's just think about this.
Tacky is a good word for it.
Joe Biden lost a daughter when she was 13 months old. He lost his first wife when she was 30. He lost his son, Beau, when he was 46. His mom lived to be until she was 96. So Joe Biden has learned the hard lesson in life, that life is unpredictable.
Yeah.
And Nikki Haley should know that too, that is unpredictable. We could all be here today and be gone in 5 minutes, be gone in 5 days, be gone in 5 years, or be gone in 50 years. And it's not up to her to decide it.
Right.
All I want from the American president is that as long as they are here, he or she, they are giving their all for the American people.
Okay.
I found the comment super.
If only people had a time machine to go back to the Kennedy years or the FDR years or probably one the Teddy Roosevelt decade, then maybe that would actually be inspiring, because the last, 40 years of presidents and administrations have proven that no matter who's in charge, they have no insight on the American public. They have no idea, no awareness, no initiative to cater to the American public and to, grow and to evolve the American public. They rather just sell it off bit by bit to investors and lobbyists on Wall Street and big pharmaceuticals and big oil and big tech tycoons and foreign leaders.
Morbid and crass, but I'm just gonna be honest. I think the issue of Biden's age is a legitimate one that we need to talk about. The average age that men live to, which is remarkably low in the U.S., is 73 years old.
So should the rest of Congress retire?
So I think, well, to be honest, I do think we need more generational representation in Congress.
And so they're trying to make a joke to discredit that claim that we should be talking about age. We should be talking about the mental stability and the health of people of Congress. They're trying to take a jab at that by making a joke. Well, should all of Congress then retire? And the audience applauds that. The audience is applauding the fact that all of Congress should be retired. So that's a slam on The View. That's a slam on Sunny Hostin. That's a slam on Joey Behar. That's a slam on all the panelists on The View. They're trying to hide the fact that they're old, they're not in good health, and they should not be holding responsibility for that many people. It's a hard task. It's a hard job. I don't want to give it to someone who is in their elder years and should be relaxing and taking care of themselves for their final years. I don't want to do that. That seems like elder abuse. Why would I do that to someone who is at the point of decline? Why would I do that?
Especially when some of the biggest issues we're taking on are the rise in technology, artificial intelligence, things that are new and of the next upcoming generation. But I mean, the issue is not a big one if he's against Donald Trump. Donald Trump's only 4 years younger than him. But in the same
And
way,
doesn't look like he's in good health either.
neither of them to me I don't want to see either of them run again, personally. But this idea of kind of the mental competency test, I don't think that you should do it because of age. I think we should have them across the board. I actually think the immigration test that we give to people becoming U.S. citizens is something members of Congress should have to pass.
Oh,
It's
they'd all
basic
fail it.
civics. That's the
They'd
thing. I
fail
don't
it.
think most of them would pass it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a bad thing. I'm not old enough to run for president. Like, we do put age restrictions on people being in office.
That is interesting. That's an interesting take. I would like to see that. Because I think even most Americans, and I'm not shooting people down, like I don't want to, go against the viewers here, but it'd be interesting, the general knowledge questions about America's history and geography and stuff like that. If we gave it to the people of The View, if we gave it to the people of the White House, if we, you see all those montages of people on the street, they're interviewing, college students about like, oh, what is the capital of the United States? Where is, what's the capital of the state of Washington? You see that before. Where is India located continent-wise? You see those montages. It'd be interesting if people like them took that same test that immigrants did, because immigrants coming into this country, I bet you have far better scores than people in America, because they're not raised on the American educational system. They're not the No Child Left Behind program. And people outside of America seem to have a bit more grasp when it comes to the rest of the world and understanding the history of the world than people in America. And that just goes to show you a failure of the educational institution and why it needs to, progress, why we need to look towards places like Finland and Denmark that are succeeding in high numbers, and they're doing less school. They got smarter kids and they're doing less school. I think that should be something we need to look into.
Well, I don't think when she was responding to about a woman being in her prime, I think she had a right to respond to that. We had big conversations about what that means and that it wasn't okay. So it is rich to see her say this now, because inconsistency, if you think that was not a good thing, to predict someone's death. Now, the way I envision this, and Alyssa, you spent more time in D.C., I was envisioning like a brainstorming meeting gone wrong, because I'm like, how do you get to the point where a regular speaking, thoughtful human being that speaks a lot utters those words and doesn't like, oh, wait, that's not what I meant.
Not so
I was
thoughtful.
envisioning, well, yeah, but I would give this credit to a lot of people that have spoken on their feet when you hear you just said someone's going to die. Like, that's a kind of big thing to say. I imagine a meeting where they're like, you know what, we want to focus on Vice President Harris. You know what we should do? You know, we should say you died. Yeah, my grandma died at 72. Let's say death. You know, like everyone's like fueling this big speech, and she never checked
By
in
the way,
to say this.
Maybe
this
that's who
isn't
she
new.
is.
This all happened when John McCain was running with Sarah Palin, and people rightly said we're one 77-year-old man's heartbeat away from Sarah Palin being the president. Now, I'm not comparing Kamala Harris and Sarah Palin.
Yeah,
but this is
Yes,
a conversation.
please don't.
No, but this is a conversation we've always had in our politics. I think it's very legitimate to say we have to talk about the realities
Yeah, but
of
you know what?
aging.
You know how you get there? Wait, you know how you get there? You say.
Now, I'm not old enough to remember, but I think in the 80s, when Ronald Reagan was president, he had noticeable signs of Alzheimer's and dementia. And that brought conversations to the news waves about that. And they were trying to hide that and shield that for like years, saying that, oh, well, he's going to pick up someday. He's just having a bad day. Eventually he's going to rise again. But even then they had conversations about Ronald Reagan and his mental stability to being president. So this is nothing new. This has been going on for years.
Say this. Okay, so even President Biden has said himself, age is important. Look hard. He's looked hard.
Well, but we're going to show
wait.
that clip.
Yeah, but I mean, what I want to
yeah.
say then is that if he's saying it himself, then just say age is important here. So let's talk about the vice president because now it might be more consequential.
And they are doing
That's
that.
as easy as that.
They are, you know, as part of this campaign, one of the things that happened in those videos is that they are lifting her profile. Look, the White House Correspondents' Dinner is this weekend. I think Joe Biden should take the opportunity to show some humor about it. His age is not going to go away. It's an issue. So he needs to take it in stride, and he needs to say, yeah, you know what? I'm old, but I'm not crazy. I'm not divisive. I'm not hateful. I'm not a bigot. I'm not anti-homo.
I don't grab women by the genitals.
I don't grab women by the genitals. I'm not indicted. I'm not a criminal.
The hilarious irony of all this, and, you know, they're trying to make shots at Trump about this. But the hilarious part of all this is that in order to get away from Trump, because Trump is somehow this mean, awful person compared to all the rest of the nice people, he's the only mean one. So what do? They vote in someone who's even worse than Trump. You're talking about the guy who wrote the 1994 racist crime bill. You're talking about the guy who started politics by saying he's going to whore himself out to every lobby group. You're talking about the guy who is absolutely crazy and screamed at people and yelled at a morning show host that if you don't vote for me, you're not black. You're talking about the person who said he didn't want to raise his kids in a racial jungle. Okay? So your answer to a bigoted game show host is a far worse bigot. That is the hilarious irony that they don't understand. Is that you think you're defeating Trump, but you actually got a worse version of Trump. You're making it worse by consoling to Joe Biden. And by the way, Joe Biden has grabbed people by the blank. The Tara Reid story. The only difference is Trump just announced it because he doesn't care. He has that personality. I'm just going to blurt things out. Joe Biden has groped multiple people, has sexually abused multiple people, and they have come forward. And what have they done? Nothing. No investigation. None of it. But Trump seems to be the only mastermind that could be an absolute bigot, an absolute racist, a xenophobic, what'd she say, anti-homo? Trump is the only anti-gay person. You realize Joe Biden was anti-gay until he ran as vice president. They were all against gay marriage. Every single one of them was against gay marriage until the campaign donations poured in. Same with Hillary Clinton. Same with Barack Obama. They were all against gay marriage until they realized that they need those supports.
I mean, Reagan famously said, I'm not going to hold my colleagues' youth and inexperience against him. Humor does work, I think.
Well, I'll tell you something. I'd rather have Joe Biden drooling than any Republican.
Joy Behar always with the final word. The most insightful final word. I'd rather have a drooling idiot than a Republican. Well, congratulations, Joy. You got your wish. You got your wish. We're living in the worst of the Weekend at Bernie's administration. Literally holding up by duct tape, rubber bands, jumper cables, whatever it is. Like a marionette puppet. Joe Biden. My God, this is just so absolutely, it shows the disconnect and the absolute atrocity of, commentary from daytime television hosts like this. And it just shows that Joy Behar could not care less. She could not care less because whether it's Republican, whether it's Democrat, she rather prefer Democrat because she wants to appear like she's a good person. But it doesn't matter because she's a rich millionaire. She goes on luxurious vacations. As long as she can jet sail off to Italy in no time, she doesn't care. She doesn't care about Medicare for all. She doesn't care about, people getting good education. She doesn't care about, the honest worker getting a livable wage. She doesn't care about that because she lives in her own bubble. She goes and does The View, and then she goes back to her penthouse on Park Avenue. That's the kind of cynicism you get from people like Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg and Sunny Hostin and Sarah Haynes and whoever the other lady is. Anna Navarro, and I think her name was Griffin. Something Griffin. I don't know. But it literally is amazing that, first of all, this television program is still on the air. That's the miracle. That is the miracle that still haunts me to this day, is that this is still allowed on television. Barbara Walters was still here this day, witnessing the deterioration of whatever, trying to craft this show into whatever inspiration she had. She must be kicking in her grave right now because this is just absolute lunacy. To defend Joe Biden's deterioration and saying that Nikki Haley's in the wrong for mentioning about age, but then also saying that age is an important thing, but don't talk about Joe Biden's age. Don't talk about Joe Biden's mental health. Don't talk about Joe Biden's scandals. Because, oh my God, the orange buffoon might be coming back. So we have to have a visionary. We have to have a messiah. We have to have someone who could be the savior of my perfect establishment world. Because otherwise, things might hurt me. It might be flipped upside down. I might have an inconvenience. Joy Behar might not be able to vacation this year. Just the absurdity of this, and you wonder why daytime television is just absolute garbage. Absolute garbage. I think if it wasn't for Rachel Ray's cooking, I wouldn't even bother turning on TV in the day. I don't even know why people watch.
Not too long.